Hello and welcome to my review of Tomb Raider Legend, now available on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So Tomb Raider Legend was developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Eidos. It was released in 2006 for the PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, GameCube, PSP and PC. There were also versions available for the Game Boy Advance and the DS, but they differed from the other releases as they were kind of 2D rather than 3D. The PS5 and 4 versions of the game are actually emulations of the PS2 version, and the PS4 and 5 version was released on the 11th of June 2024. The game is available for PS Plus Premium subscribers, or you can purchase it like I did for £15.99 or around $20. When purchasing the game, you get both the PS5 and the PS4 version, so if you want dual platinum then you can. The PS5 version is around 6.7 gig and the PS4 version is 7.1 gig. So the story of Tomb Raider Legend is you play as Lara Croft, who is an explorer and treasure hunter. When the game opens, she's on an exploration in Bolivia, and she comes across a location that was similar to one where she found in her youth with her mother after surviving a plane crash. There is a daze that when Lara's mother activated it, she disappeared. So over the course of the game, Lara must travel the globe to recover pieces of the Sword of Excalibur to activate the daze and find out what happened to her mother. As Lara is on a mission to find the pieces of Excalibur, it takes her to various locations around the globe. Some of these locations include Bolivia, Peru, Japan and the UK. During this, you will be hunted by Lara's old friend Amanda Everett and her right-hand man James Rutland. The villains of the game are rather on the basic side, as the game is quite short and they don't get that much screen time to be fleshed out. For instance, it's not until quite late in the game when you get to actually see Amanda outside of a flashback sequence. The game took me around 7 hours to finish, and my main gripe with it is that the game ends just as the story gets interesting. So the gameplay of Tomb Raider Legend is a departure from the previous Tomb Raider titles, as unlike the previous Tomb Raider games where it was more grid based, Tomb Raider Legend gives you full 360 degrees control of Lara. And thanks to this new control over Lara, it means that some of the gameplay elements of previous titles have been reworked. The first one I want to talk about is probably one of Lara's signature movesets, and that is her traversal abilities. Thanks to Lara's updated moveset, she is way more versatile and agile. For example, in parkour, she is more, like I said, agile, like she can do more flip. There is a dodge system in the game that sees Lara doing various flips and tumbles. Also, Lara can swing on bars, which I believe was there in previous titles, but this time it is just more updated and fluid and also faster. Going from the previous titles to Tomb Raider Legend, Lara is way more faster than she's ever been. And also, thanks to Lara's updated and faster moveset, this also helps her in combat as well. Combat is predominantly just shooting at enemies, and the enemies are fairly easy to kill in this game. You do get access to a variety of weapons. These include Lara's iconic dual pistols, which you have throughout the duration of the game. You can also get other guns such as an assault rifle, a machine gun, and for the final level you get the Sword of Excalibur. You also get access to grenades in the game, but they're kind of used as like a last resort. I personally don't use them much, as if I run out of ammo, the dual pistols have unlimited, so I would just switch to those if needs be. There are several boss fights in the game, and for the most part these are sort of puzzle boss fights, as most of the bosses off the top of my head you don't really just shoot at them apart from one of them. For example, there is a boss in the England level which you have to solve a puzzle before you can damage them, and that's kind of how most of the bosses are in the game. Speaking of puzzles, they are obviously a main part of the Tomb Raider series, and for the most part the puzzles in this are all environmental. If you get stuck on any of the puzzles, you can use Lara's binoculars, which have an RAD feature, which essentially Lara will look at a part of the environment and give you a clue on how to solve the puzzle. Returning from previous games, there are vehicle sections. The vehicle sections in this game take form of motorcycle chases, I guess, and sees Lara kind of trying to get to a location on a motorcycle. For the most part, these are on rails, but you can move left and right, and you can also accelerate to go faster. But all you really do in these sections is just shoot at the enemies that come at you, and once you've gotten to a certain point, the game will push you on to the next section. A new mechanic that Lara has in her arsenal comes in a form of the magnetic grapple. This is predominantly used in solving puzzles and can also be used as grapple hooks so you can swing across certain gaps. The magnetic grapple also plays a part in something that was seen in quite a lot of mid-2000s games, and that is quick time events, as Tomb Raider Legends sadly does include them. But these are quite simple, and as long as you're paying attention to them, they're pretty easy to solve. But if you do miss a button prompt, then it's an instant game over and you'll be taken back to the previous checkpoint. Speaking of checkpoints, the checkpoint system in this game is very forgiving, as upon dying you'll be taken back to the previous checkpoint, which is usually a couple seconds before. Visually, Tomb Raider Legend holds up quite well today. Obviously, if you compare it to some of the later Tomb Raider titles, it does look a bit dated, and the version that is available on the PS4 and 5, I found it quite blurry, as I'm guessing that's down to the emulation, but from having played some PS1 titles on the PS5, that kind of blurriness and fuzziness wasn't present, so maybe that's just down to the emulation system they're using for PS2 games, so bear that in mind before playing. Something I am hoping for is that this game does well enough that we can get the 2 other games of this trilogy, Tomb Raider Anniversary and Tomb Raider Underworld, to also be available on PS5 and PS4. So that is kind of my thoughts on Tomb Raider Legend. If you have any plans on picking it up, I would love to know in the comment section down below. And that's all for this video, and I will see you next time.